back at where we've kind of come then. So as a council, just to give a bit of context, if we go back sort of 5 years ago, we didn't have a digital team at all. We were literally just we relied on our ICT resource to deliver much of the digital solutions that we were looking at. It was identified that we needed a digital team, and that digital team actually came out of the slimming down of our customer services department. And the idea, a bit of a big risk really, was that ultimately, by taking resource out of customer services and developing those front door digital solutions and self-service solutions, that we'd actually recoup that saving anyway, and it's paid off, thankfully. So that was back in September 2018 under review, and a digital team was generated. In January 2020, well, I said we procured GOS in January 2020. It was a bit of, as anybody will know on this call, a bit of a long-winded process, picking suppliers and understanding what was the best for our needs. But we settled on GOS, which has turned into one of the best decisions that we've ever made in my mind. So that is our customer development platform, which we use for all sorts, which we'll talk about as I go through. So then in March, we procured our omnichannel contact centre solution, and there was a real caveat around that we needed it to be able to integrate with the GOS platform, which we've done successfully. Then in March 2020, literally off the back of training, COVID hit, and we used GOS to really rapidly deploy some COVID solutions, which I'm sure, again, any council on the call will have done. But I think the point I'm trying to get across here is, we were probably a couple of weeks out of training, but we're really able to rapidly develop these solutions, which I think shows the real benefit of that low-code platform and actually just how easy it was for us to pick up. Don't get me wrong, we had a lot of support in that, both from GOS and our central team, our ICT developers, who were the heavyweight behind us really, and the real core developers within our team and within our service. So in September 2020, we launched the contact centre solution, and the integrations in that were things like pause and starting recordings of calls, which was done through a GOS endpoint, but you're really using GOS and front end solutions to create job queues in the back end of our omnichannel contact centre solution. So in the same way that you would log that you have spoke to a customer online, we were able to log that, spoke to a customer over the phone, we were able to log that we'd spoke to a customer online as well, and that went into the GOS CRM. Then in March 2022, we launched the new SBC website, which was just a massive piece of work. We took a very structured approach to that. We needed, the reason that we were redeveloping the internet was because we got collared by Cabinet Office for not meeting WCAG accessibility compliance, and actually the work that would have been involved in getting our website up to WCAG compliance meant that we were better off just redeveloping it. So we made a bit of a deal with Cabinet Office and said, can you give us a bit more time? And we were allowed that time, which allowed us to do that. Within the development of that, we developed 160 self-service solutions and a full front door for licensing. As a result of that full front door for licensing, we were able to reduce again the number of FTE in customer services, and customer services from that point actually didn't serve our licensing department. Everything was done online, which is just a massive win really in terms of what we could do. We developed that very much around GDS standards. We developed it so it met WCAG, so therefore switching over a lot of PDF content and inaccessible content over to web content, which GOS lent its hands to and made it very, very easy to do through things like our document templates and stuff like that in terms of removing policies from there. And I'm very happy to say that we are now 99.8% compliant with WCAG. Evie's going to talk a bit more about our websites later, but Evie's put a lot of work into that and is a true expert in that area of work as well. So that was the website launch. Then we went on to CRM go live. So we very quickly after launching the website launched our CRM. It was approximately a 6-week gap, so it was another really sort of high-paced project, and again testament to how being able to develop in low code, but also the reusable elements that we've been able to use from GOS. So because they're both on the same platform, different URLs for access, obviously, but we discovered that actually customer service officers were given the same information that we were given on the internet. So therefore, why are we developing extra articles for that? We might as well just bring that information over. And actually, in the same sense of where we've developed all of our online self-service solution. So as part of the website launch, we looked at full end-to-end service redesign. No PDFs for applications or anything like that, all GOS solutions for applications. If we're developing them to be acceptable for a customer to use, they're acceptable for our customer service officers to use as well. So being able to realign that meant that we could very, very quickly and rapidly deploy our CRM too. That generated a saving of 33,000 per annum for the council, which is brilliant, contributing towards our medium-term financial plan. It gave us a single view of the customer. So again, whether you were transacting online or you were transacting over the phone or in contact centres with us, we've actually got all that information now in one place. I should probably note that as part of the SBC website launch, we also launched our My Council account too, so that people could track those transactions with us as well, which linked into the one customer account. Then in November 2023, we launched our web chat. That was on the back of our omni-channel contact centre solution, but we were able to really seamlessly integrate that into the GOS platform. Moving on to our next big project, that was SID. So really, when we procured GOS, we had 3 big projects in mind: decommissioning our legacy CRM, the new website, and SID as well. So the Stockton Information Directory. So a lot of people on the call are probably aware we've got a legislative requirement to have an information directory, and we decided to bring that over into GOS as well. So GOS ultimately is our customer development platform. We took a corporate-wide approach to it, agreed by CMT, that websites, anything website related that could be developed should be developed in GOS to consolidate some of those systems. So through doing that, we also identified that we needed an early years directory and a SEND subsite, and through bringing that into GOS, Evie's going to show the website in a little bit as well, so you get a bit of a look at it. We generated savings of approximately 72,000 per annum. So at that point, we're looking at GOS and thinking, well, it's sort of paying for itself now. It's not costing us anything additional in terms of our costs around it. And again, meeting WCAG, that says 2.1, ignore that, I'll change that after this, 2.2 to 99.8%. And I believe we are in Silktide's top table at the minute as well, which is what we always aim for. Fantastic. So just to give you a bit of an idea on the services that we've touched on with GOS. So, we've at the beginning there, and the stuff that I've talked about is very much focused around our customer service functions, things that our customer service services that our customer services serve. But actually, through the developments that we've had so far, we've literally touched on pretty much every single council service. So I'm happy to share these slides afterwards, but I wanted to put this up as a bit of a inventory of our work, but a top level inventory of our work. And I think again, one of the benefits of working with GOS is this openness to sharing and working collaboratively with others. So if there's anything in here that you're working on, please feel free to get in touch with us, because it could be that we've already done quite a lot of work in the background and we might be able to share some of that with you. So looking into 2024 and 2025, because I've run out of space on my last screen of my map, so talking about some of the other stuff we've done. We've implemented the reporting server. We found that we were really struggling with the performance of our platform, purely because, and rightly so, we were querying live data ultimately. So we went down the route of procuring the reporting server. That has been an absolute game changer, but the caveat that I would put around that is that we've needed significant input from our ICT developers. So again, those real heavyweight developers that, we're not talking low code developers here, we're talking the big kahunas, I suppose is what I would call them in that. So we've implemented that, and Lynn's going to actually show some Power BI reports that we've managed to get out of that as a result of the implementation of the reporting server, but that has been an absolute game changer for us. We've implemented a garden waste solution, so we've managed to implement a federated login with our Bartech system. The solution for garden waste is very, very tailored towards it, and to develop that in GOS it wouldn't have been worth the development time ultimately. So we've procured a system, but we are looking at a one council approach, a one view of the council. So for me, it's very much about whether you're transacting with us for revs and bends, whether you're transacting with us for a garden to order a bin, or anything that you're transacting with us with, we need to look like we're one council, and our approach to that is federated logins. So some real great work around that as well. Ally implementation, which I'm not going to touch on because Kaylee's on the call is going to show you through that in a bit. date, and we've launched and I'm in development of multiple websites and solutions. So SDR 200, which is a celebrating 200 years of the Stockton-on-Tees Railway, and there's loads of events and stuff on. So go and have a look at that website because it's actually one of our favourites. Because and Sarah's smiling because we you know working in the corporate world, you're quite often restricted to what you can do in terms of branding. But this one gave us that little bit more space, and we've really enjoyed working on that one. North East Public Protection Partnership, JSNA, which we're implementing embedding of Power BI reports. So that's our joint strategy needs assessment, and it's very data heavy. So we've took a Power BI route to that, and the Preston Park Museum website, which is going to be integrating with their booking system as well. So drawing events into GOS, again looking for that one customer view. We've done some work on public health outbreak recording, and we're currently working on redeveloping our intranet. And again, we'll follow that same route of, the same sort of user experience and custom design. A lot of work goes into things like user journey mapping and all that sort of stuff in the background. Bringing that over into the GOS platform, and we'll be looking again at those reusable elements, i.e. we don't want to redevelop the internet. If we're sharing information across both, let's use them in one location. Added benefit of, you're not updating two places, you're updating one to update many. We're working on the digitisation of our full fleet service completely in GOS, so all solutions will be in the GOS platform for that one, and we are looking at street bins as well, which probably isn't the most interesting of subjects, but to note on that, we're looking at some potential integrations with Internet of Things, so bin sensors ultimately that will detect how full or the condition of a bin and report that back, which will allow us to do better route planning. At the minute, we've got a fairly archaic way of doing things where there's set routes that people go around, but there's no way of knowing whether that bin's full or empty, so we're probably just wasting people's time quite a lot of the time, and this will actually allow us to develop routes the day before so we can make sure that everything's up to date and done. We've implemented over the years numerous booking solutions based on the core booking system available within GOS, Preston Park events, family hubs, staff and wellbeing sessions, flu vaccinations, employee health checks are both internal and external, and ranging, some that have got maybe 2 or 3 occurrences, some that are, allowing thousands of tickets to be bought, and it stood the test of time, and it stood the test of that being able to deal with that sort of capacity as well and load on the system. We're doing some work at the minute on bus pass portal integration with SAM. So we've been working with these providers for a very, very long time, but the system ultimately isn't performing how we want it and need it to perform. So we have got the OK to develop that full end-to-end process in GOS, because we believe we can give a better customer experience that way, but with an integration to the portal to be able to do the automatic generation of the bus passes ultimately. We've done Aptian integrations, which is our I think I'm going to say this wrong here, but it's our information governance system, and I'm looking to Lynn, she's nodding at me, so I'm right. We've done highway licenses, selective licensing, SendGrid integrations, which is our comms package, so the ability to send out emails. So when people are signed up for an account, they get asked if they want to sign up to our newsletter, and we can control all of that through our integration with SendGrid. I've got selective licensing on twice there. Apologies, folks. I'll remove that also afterwards. And then looking at in the future some AI stuff with GOS as well. So we're very, very keen on have a look back at some of the demos that Andy's done, because they've just been fantastic, really, and showing some of the things that are coming in the future and that I think is going to revolutionise and change how we work ultimately in AI image detection. So that's the stuff around being able to take an image of a fly tip and detect what is actually in that fly tip, how big that fly tip is, and if there's any evidence in there. We're hopeful to use it in things like blue badge applications, so understanding a PIP letter and what the PIP score is on it, which at the minute is very much a manual process in the back end. So and we get quite a lot of applications on that. So there's some real potential cost benefit savings in that. Content stuff. So we've literally just got our hands on some content stuff that will hopefully help us in terms of meeting accessibility criteria, bringing reading age down, but doing some of that automatically and automated. And then search functionality, which is the bit that I'm particularly excited about, which is around AI search results in our web pages. And I think if we're being revolutionary and thinking about the future, maybe not even revolutionary, but just thinking about the future, that is the future of websites for me. We won't have these static navigations. We'll have AI searches which will help people find what they need instantly. So that's kind of where we are and what we're working on, as a bit of an overview. So that leaves us with, we've got over 400 solutions in 4 years developed within GOS, on the customer development platform. We've got, on that, every solution that we've developed has got a feedback loop, so a feedback form at the end, which we, as a management team, look at monthly and see where we can improve our solutions and systems. We do design to GDS standards, so things like one question per page, which helps people to understand better what we're asking of them, and lots of other stuff involved in that. And we're currently at 92% customer satisfaction for our online front door services, which is just brilliant. But we will keep striving for that 100%. I know there's quite a lot of the team on the call, so we'll keep pushing, guys. We've got integrations with multiple systems. I've talked about some of them there, but Alloy, Flare, NHS information, literally just loads and loads and loads of integrations that we've got in there. Again, some kudos there for our ICT development team as well, who've helped us a lot with that. We've got over 61,000 My Council accounts, and we've worked out that approximately 65% of our households in the borough have at least one account, which we're really impressed with and really proud of for something that's only been launched for 3 years. We've obviously implemented the reporting server, which I've talked about, and we've implemented federated logins as well into the system. So where does that leave us? A bit blurry the screen, but bear with me. So when we first procured the GOS platform back here in 2020 to 2021, we were looking at 55% of our transactions being manual and 45% being digital. We're now at a point where 68% of our transactions are done digitally, and obviously that's helped us. I think we've all probably seen an increase in demand for services, so the number of contacts has also increased, but this has certainly helped us to handle and deal with that better. I'm not going to bleat on too much about My Council because Lynn's going to show us a little bit of this in a minute, but again, just a really quick overview of it. We've got some information in there. 96% of My Council account holders are residents of Stockton. We don't limit to just Stockton people, because it might be that you want to come on and transact for your family, and like I said, my numbers are wrong on here because I've just updated it this morning, but 65% of households in the borough have at least one My Council account. The only other thing I think that I would add to this is around, because I do need to give a nod to GOS as well and the work that they've done for us. I've talked a lot about the work that we've done there, and I've talked a lot about our central ICT development team, but I want to make really clear this has been a real collaborative approach, both with ourselves, GOS, and our central ICT development team as well, and that's what's pushed us to the point where we've managed to develop so much. So big thanks to you lot as well. So I'm going to hand over to Lynn now, who's going to talk a little bit about our My Council account, but also show you some of the dashboards that we've managed to get out of the reporting server. So Lynn, over to you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll just share my screen. Am I on? Okay, so this is our My Council account. And what we have in here is we've got the My Requests, which is your most recent transactions. I've just put one in here. This one uses case management, so people can update and put questions on there, which comes into the team, which is really, really useful. We've got bookings. So again, I've just put one in here for Household Waste Recycling Centre. We do allow on the household waste to be able to update and cancel your bookings. So if that's an option, they can do that in here. Waste and recycling. So we've got our refuse and recycling dates and garden waste. So currently the garden waste collected through Bartek, but the rest is still just on legacy systems. So this is just an internal lookup we have at the minute, but we will move to a Bartek lookup when we move over to there. Garden waste collections, this is the federated login, which Corin mentioned. So rather than having to log into the garden waste collections portal, you go straight through and you can see your garden waste collections in there. I'll just go back to the My Council page. We've got councillors in here. So this is based on the ward where your address is. So we've got the most recent ones. That's doing a lookup from Modern Gov. Planning applications, 3 most recent planning applications. Again, that's based on your postcode and pulling information in from iDocs. We've also got links to the My Council tax account and licensing act applications and job vacancies. The My Council tax account, we don't have federated logins, and that's due to security and them not allowing us to do it. So you would have to log into that one. At the top bar, we've got My Preferences. So in here, we can update to say what we want to see. So there's some other options in here. So If we wanted to look at the GP surgeries, dentists, pharmacies, hospitals, opticians, all that information is coming from NHS data, or we've got the primary schools and secondary schools in the area. So if we just add a couple of those on, it'll just add to the My Council account. And again, it's using your postcode to find the closest ones in your area. So if we just scroll to the bottom now, they'll have added on at the bottom. Or they haven't today. Worked yesterday when I practiced, but that's typical, isn't it? So we've got that in there, and we've also got your marketing preferences. So you can update your marketing preferences to if you want to be sent emails, which is the My Council newsletter, which will go out monthly. Okay, so that's a brief overview of My Council. I know Kaylee's going to, when she goes into the Causeway Alloy, she'll show how some updates are coming back from Causeway on the statuses. And then I'll move over to the reporting server. So these are the Power BI dashboards that we've been creating on the reporting server. So as Corinne said, we have worked with our central ICT development team, and they have been able to write some reusable queries, which is absolutely amazing. So we can just take that query now, put in the label A's, and we're getting loads of good data back. So we've got things set up for forms, we've got it for case management, we're working on contribute as well. So it's really, really useful. And being able to do this when we're going out to services who need new solutions, we can show them this and show them what they can possibly have, which is prompting a lot of things in their IDs as well. So this one is Magic and Minute AI feedback, which we've been piloting, and this is just a report that people, once they'd used the solution, they were submitting some feedback on what they thought of the tool. So we've got overall figures, and then we've broke it down into each different pilots. So we've got the Magic and we've got the Minute. So it's really, really useful for the analysis to see how that pilot's gone. Form data and literally anything that's in the form, as long as we're hitting that we want to record it, we're getting those out in here. Another one we've done just recently, so digital library assistance, again, is just a new form that's been set up. It's used within the libraries for anyone who's assisting. So we've got options on a form where they say where they're located and what they're assisting with. Again, really, really useful for people to go on and see where's busy, what are we busy with. So we can see printing and scanning is our main thing, and Billingham is the busiest of the libraries. We've got a Blue Badge report, so this is all based on case management. So we've got self-serve figures in here, so we can see straight away how many we've had in the month. So for July so far, it's going to work. Is anything updating for you? Because it's not for me. Is it? Is it? All right, sorry, it's just been a bit slow. So yes, so for July, we've had 23 automatic, 5 hidden and 17 so far. So really useful for reporting on the online services. We've also got a breakdown of all the application types we have for Blue Badges. So for the auto applications, which is what Corinne was saying about the PIP letters, we can see we've had 554 since April applying under PIP and 72 under DLA, sorry. So those sort of tools will massively impact the team on when they're having to check all those documents. Again, it's useful to see what's been done online, who in the team have been working on things. You can see the current statuses of what the cases are at, how many cases we've got open, and the closure reasons for the cases. So we've got a page for each type of application. We've also got an appeals process, which is just something we've recently added in. So we haven't got many in there, but again, a good overview of who's coming through for an appeal and what the outcomes are. And we've also got this OT assessment outcomes, which is tasks on the case management. So we work with OTs to assess the Blue Badges. So we'll create tasks for them. So we'll either create an OT assessment task, a check if known, or it might be evidence to attach or a form to be reviewed. And again, it shows how that's going back to 2022. So there's a lot of tasks in there, but the OTs do a lot of tasks on the Blue Badge cases. And then the final report I was just going to touch on is the Stockton Information Directory. So you'll see a bit of this when Evie does the websites. And Corinne touched on it about what the Stockton Information Directory is. So for getting the data from the reporting server for here, we've looked at multiple things. So we've got the articles, which is all the articles on the website which falls under Stockton Information Directory. We can see which ones are switched on and which ones are switched off and when they were last modified, which is really useful for the Stockton Information Directory team who keep track of all of those articles and update them. We've got the events in here as well. So this is looking at the events table and occurrences. So we can see what events are in the Stockton Information Directory, again, what's switched on and what's switched off. And then we've got the event occurrences. So we can see when the last occurrence is. So they'll look at this and then know that they need to put in new occurrences because the last one for that is the 10th of July. They'll book in another couple of months. They'll update that. And we've got the, the no occurrences as well, which we've just recently added in. So that's events that are live, but we haven't got any occurrences in them. So again, they'll either hide them or they'll go in and update. And we have contact us. So again, just case management for the Stockton Information Directory, but looking at what people are contacting us for, just using form data. And we've got the accounts, so all the accounts. So that's looking at the accounts table in the reporting server as well. So every account under the Stockton Information Directory. So we've also got a separate account as well as the My Council account for any of those on the Stockton Information Directory. I think that's them all. Okay, so I'll hand over to Kaylee, who's going to show you the Causeway and Alloy integration.
Hello. All right, I'll just share my screen. You've been everyone with sharing there. Fantastic. Okay, so yeah, just a little bit of an insight into what we've been doing with Causeway. Basically, our digital team, myself and a couple of others, have been working alongside Causeway and our highways department to basically move over the kind of service inquiry type requests that we get through away from Flare and into Causeway system Alloy. Alloy is the operational asset management system. We have been using it as a council for street lighting inspections and things like that, but it wasn't getting used for anything else. So we kind of took that on and rolled with it from there. The aim of the project was basically to streamline the service inquiries that we were getting through, being received from customers, automate the inspections being created off the back of those service inquiries, and providing tracking and feedback to the users in a timely manner. Everyone knows things like carefree area, potholes, very high hitters, a lot of progress chasing for that. So it was to try and reduce that down a bit. Just a little quick view of the My Council there. We've got a couple of requests in, and I'll go through how these pop up and how they get updated. But for the service of highways, we looked at a number of different forms. I think we started off with 6 or 7, and then we've got a couple of forms that do partial alloy, partial flare still, because obviously it goes to different departments. So this is a list of ones that we've integrated so far. And as mentioned by Corinne earlier, we have worked quite closely with our IT team, Zentral, to help us with things like the APIs and endpoints to get this integration up and running. So I'll pop through a form for ourselves here. So as that is submitting, obviously the API and things like that are ticking away in the background and pushing the information through into Alloy. We've then got within that API and endpoint combo, as soon as it's submitted, it pulls back or asks Alloy for the case reference, and that's the unique reference number for the service inquiry that I've just submitted. You can see in My Council, because I've done it via My Council and I put my details in there, it's automatically shown, and we've just got a really brief status update that states report received. This is Alloy, nice little map view here, so I'll pop my reference number in and it takes me to that area and gives me the basic details that we've got going on. This does get, I think it has updated, it's partially updated there. There is a number of workflows that go on in Alloy in the background, so things like it'll allocate it to the most appropriate technician based on ward. It'll update things like risk score if it's applicable, and things like that. So Once we've clicked send, it also triggers our workflow that we set up within the digital team. So I'll give you a little view of that. There it is. And this is repeated for a number of the different forms. Some have got variations on it depending on statuses and which is appropriate. So as I mentioned, it's a really brief initial status update there. And what that does in our workflow, setting that initial status, it gives Alloy a little bit of time to refresh and update, because the default status in Alloy when submit first goes through is issued, but it doesn't update in those first few seconds. So if the customer comes in, there would be no status update immediately after. So we update that just to keep it on track. And have a look. And then the next part of the workflow runs our endpoint. Now, as I said, the endpoint picks up all the relevant fields that we've requested, so things like status, who it's allocated to, the times things have been completed, and things like that. We then have a little script action on there that uses the statuses input within Alloy. So Alloy has got the service inquiry, and we've also got attached, again, through automation in Alloy with a workflow, an inspection, because everything's inspected by highways there. And depending on what's input on here and on our service inquiry, has a knock-on effect to what we pick up and update in the My Council account. So as you can see in here, awful lot of text, but basically we pull through the various statuses in Alloy, which are quite short, a little bit abrupt, quite to the point, proposed, doesn't really give the customer an awful lot of information. So we then swap it around and update it with a much more user-friendly statement. So it gives them a bit more information, a bit more knowledge on where exactly their query is as it goes. And as you can see in here, they get updated. So this one, for example, we've got issues being investigated and is being monitored as part of our routine inspections. So that one's kind of done and dusted there. And what this does is every 24 hours, it basically does a loop. So it does a little check, updates the status, records it in history, and then we wait. So each day, the status will be updated depending on what the technicians have been doing, until the technicians enter what we class as like a final status. So this is the outcome of the overall service inquiry. And again, it can be done on different parts within Alloy. So for example, some have jobs associated, some only have inspections, but everything feeds back to the service inquiry via workflows in Alloy, updates, and sends. We pick that up via this endpoint. Once that final status is updated, we basically close down the record, the service inquiry. So obviously it saves our side of things. We don't have processes running forever. They are relatively quick in highways to get things up to date, but it also keeps the customer bang up to date as to where they need to be. So you can see that's been updated there as well. Let's have a look. So yeah, so that's once every 24 hours that gets updated. Finally, obviously not everybody has access or can use My Council, and a lot of customers are still pretty old school and still like to phone up. So we also developed using the same endpoint that's accessed in the process model for a lookup. So again, pulling through the exact same information and just formatting it essentially. So we'll pop that through for things submitted today. So if the customers do phone up, the CSO can pop in the customer's name, email address, the reference or part thereof the location, and bring back any of the results, hopefully narrow it down enough to find the customers in particular. And it calls the endpoint upon submission. So this is like a real-time update, not the 24-hour based one that the customer sees. And that just brings everything back. As I say, a little bit more specialised information because it is the CSOs that are used to this, so they can pick that up there. And we've got all sorts in here, everything we can possibly pick up. It can bring through technicians' notes, just a little bit more detail. And at the very end, you can see this one's been closed with the outcome status and when that's been closed down for them. And that's it in a nutshell. So I think from here, I'm going to pass on to Evie to have a little look at the web side of things.
Well, thanks, Kaylee. I'll just share my screen. So after the big project of our main website, we began to work with GOS on many of our smaller websites, including our Send Local Offer site. This acts as a microsite within our main council website, and GOS helped us to create a smooth transition between our local offer branding and the main website style by keeping a similar design but replacing things like our corporate logo here at the top with the local offer logo, and also bringing in those colours from that into a really nice accessible web palette. We launched this microsite alongside our Stockton information directory, which works with our main corporate website to guide users between the two from different areas, including both of the search results. This has helped us to provide that one source of up-to-date information between our GOS websites as we continue to develop more. We also worked with GOS to bring in the Send Local Offer branding to the directory for any services that provide SEND provision. For example, our young people support listings shown here show the local offer as appropriate to give users that handy visual alongside the filters when they're browsing. The SID project also allowed us to branch out into further digital developments that I will quickly hand back over to Corinne to tell you a little bit more about.
Yeah, so SID really is based on the contribute standard contribute workflow, which is available in GOS, but we actually edited that up a little bit. The standard workflow allows the person who, so I'll tell you a little bit what contribute is first, which might help the process. So contribute ultimately is the ability to allow people who don't have access to ICM backend to contribute and create articles within websites. So obviously for the Stockton information directory, we wanted people and services to be able to input their own listings within our directory. Historically, that functionality maybe failed a little bit in old systems, and we ended up in a scenario where we have members of staff going in and trying to find information and inputting information. We wanted to pass that onus back to the actual service providers and give them ownership in the hope that actually that means that the information is kept more up to date. So we took that standard contribute article stuff, edited it up so that the person who submitted it gets a 6-monthly reminder if they haven't updated their article every 6 months, and made it so that not only they can update it, but actually our staff in the back end can update it as well if they need to through that contribute article. Meaning that we didn't then have to give access to the back end ICM to that team, because ultimately it's a much user-friendly way of doing it. So it felt like we were building a full system for them rather than saying you got this to do this and you got this to do this. It's all in that one place. I'll share my screen again just to sort of show you some stuff, but this is the customer account in the back end of SID, and going off what we were saying before about a one customer view, one customer login. This account would work on both the main website and the Stockton information directory, and we carry that forward on all of our websites. So hopefully helps customers a little bit. So you can see in here, once I've got an account, I can add a new service or organisation. I can add a new event to the Stockton information directory, and you can see that I've got a couple of test ones here that I've submitted. So I've tried to submit a food bank and someone hasn't approved it, and I've submitted a help for all, and that one has been approved. For that one that hasn't been approved, if I went through it, it'd give me, I'd get an email from the service saying it hasn't been approved. Can you go in and update your telephone number because it looks like it's wrong, or whatever you needed them to update, and it can keep going round and round and round that loop until it's approved and eventually ends up on the Stockton information directory ultimately. That allowed us to build this back end, which I was talking about, bringing that into one sort of system area, and I'll just show you a couple of bits in here. So we've got service and organisation listings. This listing events works in very similar ways. So I can go in and I can approve listings, so I can see that someone submitted something for care enablement solutions, and I can go in and approve that if I want to. It takes me to the same form that the customer's filled in, but I can actually, as a back-end user, put some more metadata in. So when Evie was showing you the page the listing's on, and it's got metadata down the side, we use forms to build in metadata into that article ultimately. So I can go in, I can update and change stuff if I want to or if I need to. This is the metadata that I'm talking about. I can hit next. I'm not going to because this isn't live, and it'll say, do you want to approve or reject based on that? Approve puts it straight on the website and starts that process of monitoring every 6 months to send a reminder. Reject sends an email to the person who submitted it saying you haven't included X, Y, and Z. Please log in and update your listings. Similarly, I can go and update listings in here if I want to as well, and I can see the things that I've got assigned to me. So if I want to update this one, I've got a staff update. While I've got hold of this one here, no one can update it, and that's just really around protection to make sure that two people can't try to update something at the same time and it clashes. So we've got that in there as well. And then we've got the ability to remove listings and then listings that aren't approved. So just basically giving people different views of what they're trying to achieve and see. We've also got some task management within it as well. Which ultimately allowed, so that bit there where we found that we had an issue with where I was looking and I've actually assigned that task to me. What if someone goes off sick? What if someone doesn't realise they've got it and then we've got that's being held by someone? This allows us to actually search for a listing and I can select whichever one that I want and reassign it over back to whoever I want within the team to be working on that one. So the full sort of end-to-end package really on that. There's a lot involved in it. It's a big process. If anyone's interested, I'm happy to do it maybe a session just to sort of show through the SID specifically, but conscious of time today, so that's a bit of a quick whistle stop of it. Are we back to you, Evie?
Yeah, back to me.
Great.
I'll just share my screen again. So just to show a few more of our other microsites, one that we're particularly proud of is the Invest in Stockton microsite. So it utilises the panel template in a range of different ways, including the tab template shown here to show our different transport information and lots of really bold imagery throughout on different panels. Another example from Invest is one of our business park pages. So again, utilising the panel template to show the facilities and location using things like image galleries and also some drone footage here on the Take a Look Around panel that allows people to have a kind of virtual tour of what we're selling. Also going on to another smaller project, the SNDR 200 website. So this is currently being used to promote the 9-month International Festival from March to November this year. Again, working closely with Sarah, we were able to get some really big wins on creating a more accessible version of this brand, while still introducing some really eye-catching designs. A particular highlight on this website is the What's On section Lynn and Natalie from our team created. So it showcases all the exciting events going on this year. It includes a carousel to push the main events at the top here, and also lots of really nice event imagery throughout, as well as all being set up with really handy filters for people to browse as well.